The late afternoon sun draped the rolling plains in a golden haze, casting long shadows over the weathered fences and dry, rust-colored earth of Jack Whitman's ranch. Jack, a man of 45 winters, stood by the creaking wooden gate, hat in hand, watching the horizon as if it held answers to questions he hadn't dared ask in years. His life had been a quiet one, filled with long days tending cattle, repairing fences, and battling loneliness that crept into every crevice of his small log cabin. The prairie was beautiful, yes, but it could be cruel to a man who longed for more than dust and wind. Jack had written letters for months, following the advice of the newspaper ads that promised companionship and marriage through a mail-order system. He had pictured a young, gentle woman, with delicate hands and a soft voice to match the serenity of his ranch. Every day, he imagined her stepping off a wagon, carrying a small trunk, and greeting him with shy gratitude for the new life they would build together. But as the sun dipped lower, doubt gnawed at his heart. Perhaps, he thought, some dreams were better left on paper. Then came the sound of wheels crunching over the dirt road, startling in its unfamiliarity. Jack's heart thumped so loudly he thought the horses might hear it. A wagon appeared over the rise, a dust cloud swirling behind it. And in that moment, the world shifted in a way he could never have anticipated. The wagon stopped at the foot of the hill, and a woman stepped down. Twice his size, broad-shouldered, with hands calloused from labor, she exuded a presence that made the earth itself seem to take notice. She smiled, a warm and open smile that could melt frost from a winter morning, and raised a hand in greeting. Jack blinked. He had expected dainty, not formidable, soft-spoken, not confident. But there was something in her eyes, something steady, honest, and kind, that reached out to him before words ever could. "Hello," she said, her voice deep and gentle, carrying the weight of someone who had seen hardship and chosen courage over fear. "You must be Jack Whitman." "Yes, yes, I am," Jack stammered, unable to look away from the woman whose very being seemed to challenge every preconception he had carried about love, beauty, and companionship. Her name was Martha. She came from a distant town where she had worked tirelessly on her family's farm. Letters had been exchanged, promises made, and now here she was, not the delicate vision he had imagined, but a living, breathing soul who could share the burdens of life with him. At first, Jack's thoughts tumbled in confusion. How could someone so large, so imposing, fit into the quiet rhythm of his solitary life? And yet, as they walked across the plains toward the cabin, she laughed freely at the sound of the creek splitting over the rocks, admired the stubborn wildflowers stubbornly blooming along the fence line, and asked questions that made Jack realize how long it had been since he had truly spoken to anyone about his hopes and fears. Days passed, and Jack watched Martha take to the ranch with surprising ease. She lifted hay bales that made him groan in exhaustion, rode horses with a natural strength that belied her size, and handled the cattle with the same calm authority he had only ever felt in himself. He found himself inspired by her resilience, her laughter, and her unapologetic presence. She was everything he had not known he needed, bold, steadfast, and honest in a way that cut through the quiet loneliness he had accepted as normal. One evening, after a long day of tending to a stubborn herd, Jack and Martha sat on the porch, the sky painted in streaks of crimson and violet. Martha handed him a cup of tea, and they sipped in silence. "You know, Jack," began hesitantly, "I thought I knew what I wanted in a wife. Someone small, gentle, someone I could protect." He paused, searching her face for judgment. Instead, Martha smiled, a glint of humor dancing in her eyes. "And," she prompted. "And I was wrong," he admitted, a weight lifting off his chest. "I never realized that what I needed was someone who could stand beside me, shoulder to shoulder, someone unafraid to face the world as it is, not as I imagined it." Martha reached over and took his hand, her grip firm and reassuring. "Jack, love isn't about size or expectations. It's about courage, kindness, and the willingness to fight for each other, even when the days are long and the nights are lonely." It was in that moment that Jack realized the truth he had been avoiding. Martha had already transformed his life simply by showing up, by being herself. She had broken the walls around his heart, not with words or promises, but with presence and authenticity. Weeks turned into months, and the ranch flourished under their combined care. Martha's laughter became a melody that echoed across the plains, and Jack's quiet contentment deepened into joy. But their true test came unexpectedly one harsh winter. A blizzard swept across the land, stranding a neighboring family and their sick child. With the road impassable and the snowdrifts mounting, Jack and Martha bundled up and set out to help, guiding them safely back to the warmth of their cabin. Martha lifted the child without hesitation, carried supplies through the storm, and offered comfort that was both gentle and unyielding. Jack watched her in awe, feeling a profound gratitude he had never known could exist. In that moment, he understood, love was not just about companionship, but about compassion, courage, and sacrifice. It was about meeting the world, and each other, head-on, with open hearts. By the time spring returned to the plains, the ranch had not only survived, it had thrived. Neighbors who had once doubted the unlikely pair now looked upon them with admiration. Jack and Martha became a symbol of what could happen when people shed expectations, embraced authenticity, and chose kindness above all else. One warm evening, as they watched the sun set behind the hills, Jack felt a surge of gratitude for the twist of fate that had brought Martha to his doorstep. "I was waiting for a dream," he said softly. "But what I got was better than I could have imagined." Martha rested her head against his shoulder, her presence filling the space with warmth. "Sometimes life surprises us," she murmured. "And those surprises, they're the best gifts of all." Jack smiled, his heart full, finally understanding that love, in its truest form, was not about size, shape, or expectation. It was about meeting another soul with courage, trust, and a willingness to face the world together. And in Martha, he had found not just a wife, but a partner, a friend, and a force that made him stronger, braver, and more alive than he had ever been. As the stars began to glimmer overhead, the ranch quiet except for the distant call of an owl, Jack knew one truth that would remain forever: sometimes, the world delivers not what we think we want, but exactly what we need. And when it does, the heart recognizes it instantly, in ways the mind could never predict. Jack Whitman had once been a loner, but he was never truly alone again. And Martha, with her laughter, her strength, and her unwavering kindness, had shown him that love is not a delicate flower to be handled with caution. It is a mighty oak, capable of weathering any storm, standing tall and strong, and offering shade, shelter, and hope to all who seek it. Together, they built more than a ranch. They built a life filled with trust, courage, and an enduring love that would be remembered by all who knew them, a love that proved the most extraordinary surprises are sometimes found where we least expect them.